Hey guys, Drak here, and so this is the video for my extended thoughts on Doom. And so I know that I've actually put out comments that kind of have worried people, but I did actually want to get into this as soon as the review came up for Doom. So before I get into my thoughts here, I want to make something perfectly clear before you go any further in this video. I stand by my review of Doom. It still is a solid 8.5. It's still an enjoyable game and a solid addition to the legacy. Bethesda should be proud of it. So should id, especially since Carmack and Romero weren't anywhere involved in this. And so at that point, there's reasons to be proud. And I stand by my review. I still believe that that's the score it deserves. And I tried to be able to give it I tried to give it a fair shake like I do with all of the reviews that I do. With that being said, though, this is where I might actually disappoint a few people. Doom actually was a very hard game for me to get through. And no, I'm not talking about game difficulty. I found it very depressing, very draining, trying to get through the levels. I had to really push myself to get this review out as quickly as I was able to, plus being able to continue to push myself when internally and personally I was literally looking for reasons to not finish this, to basically give it the axe, so to speak, to give it a 1 out of 10 and all that. But I still kind of pushed myself through it. I'm happy that I did. However, it was still a very draining, it was still a very depressing process. It wasn't necessarily frustrating, it just was draining because of all of the sheer amount of gore and hyperviolence that is going on. And just to give a little bit of history, I mean, I have played Wolfenstein, I've played the original Doom, and where that didn't bother me so much as a kid. I mean, I'm not the living example that Tipper Gore talks about, where I went off and started, I started shooting up a place or whatever. I didn't do that. I played a little bit of Doom. I played a couple of levels, and I was fine with that. I thought it was a good game. I moved on. Would I necessarily call myself a fan of the Doom series? Not really. I mean, I'm more of a what's the word I'm looking for? I'm more of a window shopper when it comes to the Doom series. I've played a little bit of Doom 1, I've played a little bit of Doom 2, and I think I've seen a little bit of Doom. I think Doom 3 was the PS1 or was it PS1 or PS2? One of the two. I've seen somebody play a little bit of Doom, like a friend of mine who's a more hardcore fan of the Doom series than me, but I wouldn't necessarily call myself a fan. And when I saw this new game advertised at E3 2015 in the first ever Bethesda conference, it actually piqued my interest. I was like, well, this actually does look like Doom, as it would be in a current day and age and with current engines and everything like that. So I gave it a shot. And as a kid, I probably wouldn't have minded all of the hyperviolence. I would be like, that's stupid. I mean, I took the hyperviolence and all of that in Doom. I wouldn't even call it hyperviolence because, I mean, for crying out loud, Mortal Kombat in its fatalities was probably hyperviolence. Having to uppercut a guy and have 4 rib cages come out, that's hyperviolence as far as I'm concerned. It's violence, but it's enjoyable because it's so stupid. And that's kind of how I viewed Doom, is that Doom looked like an interesting new experience, but it wasn't like everything the media was saying it was at the time. But now, given my sensibilities as an adult, I don't know, something changed, and I just had a real difficult time kind of struggling through this. I didn't have necessarily a person to root for because, well, in Doom, everybody's a bad guy. There's no way to get around it. I made jokes about the two. Sorry, I shut the camera. I made jokes about the two evil scientists, and even the character you play, the quote Doomslayer, isn't necessarily a good guy. He's very very much a Rambo kind of figure. So at that point, there's no real legitimate good guy. The best way to be able to put this here is there's no Link in this series. And so I've actually just kind of come to one conclusion. First of all, again, I stand by my review. I have a feeling that because there's a little bit of spoilers here, and I'm pretty sure everybody can figure this out. This does hint at a sequel. And I'm guessing that Bethesda is willing to do it if it was successful. I'm probably not going to be on board with that game. I'm probably not going to review Doom 2. And I know that people are probably already going to write the negative comments and get into my face about it, but I'm just letting you know how it is, at least from my standpoint. This game kind of showed me like a good litmus for my limitations now, and here's the thing. If you paid $60 and you're still enjoying the living hell out of Doom, then great, good on you. That's a worthwhile purchase for you. To me, it wasn't enjoyable. And here's the thing. I do enjoy what I do. I do enjoy reviewing these games, but this time around, it just was very depressing for me, and it was very down. And I would literally look for reasons to play something more upbeat than that. And so that's kind of my viewpoint on the matter, is that I just don't see a reason to pay. And I mean, keep this in mind, guys, and I know I'm rambling a little bit, but back on topic, I'm not getting review copies here. And I don't know if I would ever get review copies. Because at that point, if I got a review copy, I would feel beholden to the company. And say, oh, well, they sent me a free copy of this game. I've got to speak positive about it, right? And one of the things that I do like, even though it is costly and it does kind of suck in that regard, is that I am paying for these things. And that I can actually say, was this worth the money that I paid for it? And that goes into the review process, believe it or not. So at that point, if you paid $60 for Doom and you're enjoying the living hell out of it, great! Great, good on you. That's perfect. For me, I didn't get my $60 worth. And I don't think a sequel is going to give me my $60 worth. So I'm just going to say this right here and now. While I did give a good score to Doom, I'm probably not going to review a Doom 2 if it comes out. And for the reasons that I've kind of stated. And yes, I've rambled. And for those who are already going to write the negative comments and all that, you're more than welcome to do so. But I wanted to at least get my opinion out there instead of a year or two later, Doom 2 comes down the pike, and then people are like, are you going to review it? Are you going to review it? I'm not. I'm just not on board. Whereas as a kid, I might have been willing to do it. Not so much here. So I hope you guys can appreciate that. And again, I appreciate that you guys liked the Doom review and liked the score that I gave it. And again, I stand by that despite this video. So for all the people who are going to write out and go, well, you still gave this thing a good score, so does that mean your good score doesn't matter? Nope. The good score still stands. It's a very solid entry in Bethesda's library. So with that, I'll go ahead and stop talking your ear off. And we'll see you for the next review.